So the first scenario would be what happens if a parameter appears at two different places in the Postgres.conf. Here is our parameter file, and you can see that we have two different values set to shared buffers, this one and this one. So it's appearing at two different places in the same parameter file. You can also verify the location using, so I'm going to do search. You can see that this is the first place. Then it also appears later in the file, but it has a different value. So by mistake, let's say you place the same parameter with different values in the config file, which one will take precedence? The one that appears in the last will take the precedence. We're going to see that. So the last one has 200 megabytes, but the first one has 128 megabyte. Both are in the same file. So let us do a restart of Postgres just to see. Now the restart is done. You can clearly see that 200 MB is taken here. So the second one or the last one took the precedence. So in the parameter file, be careful and don't place the same parameter at multiple places by default or by mistake, and then what happens is when you do that, the last one will take precedence. So that is scenario one. Now we're going to look at scenario 2 where we will place additional parameter file under a subdirectory. So if you see, we have this directory, and currently this is empty. As you can see, there are no parameter files in this subdirectory. I'm going to create one, memory.conf, and I'll only place one parameter just to demonstrate. Now we put it as 300 MB. So we have memory.conf, and then the shared buffers is set to 300 MB here, and it is residing under conf.d subdirectory. And here is our postgres.conf, and if you go there and look for include you can see that we are including this subdirectory. So any parameter files with .conf extension that reside under this subdirectory will be considered. So now what happens is we have 300 megabytes there, and let's see here the regular conf. In the regular conf, we have shared buffers at two different places. In real time, we are not going to put the same parameter at multiple places. I'm just trying to demonstrate what happens by mistake if you do that. So it appears at two different places. The first one is 128 megabyte, the second is 200 megabytes. We have seen that in previous scenario, the last one takes precedence. But now, since we added one more parameter file in this subfolder, what's going to happen? So this one has 300 MB. So the other two had 128, 200, and then basically this one had 300. So let's see what happens when we restart. Service post here. So let's see which one takes the precedence. Show shared buffers. You can see that it took 300 MB which is part of the parameter file specified under the subdirectory. Let us see why it took that one versus others. So it took a value from this one, and if we go to the Postgres.conf, include. So what happened is, in this case, the include there appeared after this one. So after shared buffers was set to 200 MB, we included this one, which had another parameter file called memory.conf, in which we specified 300 megabytes. As discussed earlier, whatever comes last takes precedence. Suppose we put this clause before this line, then 200 MB will be taken into effect. So let's see that. So okay, let us change the order. So what we're going to do is we're going to add shared buffers equal to 180 MB. So we added this line after the include there. That means this one should be taken into effect because this one comes last after the conf.d directory. So let's see if that. So is postgres is equal. So if our logic works, the value should be 180 MB now. So Postgres is equal. As you can see, the new value is 180 MB. So clearly, whatever comes last takes precedence, although you have include underscore directory and a parameter file included there. But if the parameter in Postgres.conf appears after the include there, it takes precedence. So whatever comes last in the order takes precedence. So now let us look at one more important thing with these subdirectories. So now quickly I will edit the file again. I will remove this part. And now the last one is include there. That means whatever is present in this directory should take precedence. cd conf.d. Now in this we have memory.conf, where we are setting it to 300 MB. But let's say I want to change it to I create another file called virtual.conf, and then by mistake I have the same parameter there, but right now we are using 160 MB in this file. So again there is a confusion here, right? Because we have two files under conf.d and both end with .conf extension. Both have shared buffers. Which one should take precedence? So let's see what happens, because this one memory.conf has the value as 300 MB, whereas the virtual.conf has 160 MB. So let's restart and see whether it will use 160 or 300 service. So you can see it took 160 MB because although there are two files, so it takes precedence based on the C local. You can also use a command like this to see what order it will follow. So let's say I run this, it says this is the order. So the last one is this one, so whatever is present in that file will take precedence. That's what we saw in the demo before. In this third scenario, we're going to look at the include clause. So you can see that now we are using include, and then we're including a new parameter file. But this is not the same as include directory. This is different. We are just including one file, not directory. So include equal to the file name. And, this is the file name we included, resource param.conf. All it has is this one line for testing purpose. Then as you can see, it has 220 megabytes. So when we restart, we should see shared buffers as 220 megabytes. As expected, we saw 220 megabytes because we included this file which came at last. You can also verify the order. Shared buffers. So you can see that there was this one, and finally there was this include clause in the last, which included this file, and this file had 220 megabytes. So this took the precedence because it appeared the last. Now finally, one thing we will see is let's say we actually remove this file, right? So just for testing purpose, what will happen when we restart? Oh, looks like it failed. It was not able to restart. Let's see what happened. So it is complaining that the included parameter file doesn't exist. So that is the problem with the include clause. Let's say you include and by mistake you use the include clause, and then that file didn't exist. In future, when you have maintenance, when you try to restart Postgres, it will not start. So for that reason, if you want to avoid that case, that particular case, you can actually, instead of include, have include if exists. So which means it will not throw error, it will only include if it exists. If not, it will just ignore that. So now it did not error out, it actually started clean. So these are different options. You have include directory, or you can include parameter file, or you can use include if exists. There are several options like this. In the fourth scenario, we're going to take a look at Auto.conf versus the regular conf file, which one takes precedence. So here we have the regular conf file, and you can see that we have shared buffers at two different places in Postgres.conf, and then we're going to add one more entry in Auto.conf. So again, this is just for learning purpose and testing purpose, just to understand the order and the precedence. Shared buffers. Let's say we have it as 220 megabytes here. See what happens. Then we do a service Postgres equal restart. See which one will take precedence. You can see that the one that is in the Auto.conf took precedence. So if you have the same parameter in Postgres.conf and also in Auto.conf, the Auto.conf will take precedence. So you can also use PG file settings to validate this. Select star from PG file settings where name equal to shared buffers. It clearly tells you that the shared buffers parameter appears at three different places. One is in the Postgres.conf. It has 128 MB as the value. And then it also appears for the second time in the same file where it has 200 MB. And it also appears in Auto.conf. It has 220 MB. But this one is the important column for us. So you can see that first one is false, second one is false, the third one is true. So the applied is true only for 220 MB, which is for Auto.conf, and as you can clearly see that Auto.conf takes precedence here. And then this is a very useful when you want to see the presence of parameter in different files and which one is taking precedence, etc. So kindly use PG file settings to know more information about your parameters in different files when you are using multiple files.